welcome to the Embracing a Disabled Lifestyle podcast, where we help families of disabled kids embrace their life and take it to the next level. Now, from the disabledlifestyle.com, here's your host, James and Jessica Pruitt. Hey everybody, this is James and Jessica. Welcome back to Embracing Your Disabled Lifestyle podcast, episode number 3.
Hi everyone.
Great to see you everybody today. I'm really excited about today's show. Today we're going to talk about caring for yourself and some of the things that we've had to do to manage our time better, eating habits, finding time for exercise, which a lot of people don't like to do, and what to do with your sick, and just talk about your health. So let's start off talking about time management, because that's one of the big issues. A lot of the people say that they don't have the time to take care of themselves. So the thing with time management for me is a lot of times you have time, it's how you use that time. Like, for example, this is something we were talking about last night. But are you spending your time, taking care of other people's problems, or are you taking care of your problems? And if you've done what we talked about last week, then you've also got the issues with respite care and getting a support system in place to help you have the time to be able to get away and take care of yourself. And you don't need a ton of time for doing some of this stuff.
I totally agree with that. You can always find a minute or two somewhere in between your busy day to take care of what you need to take care of.
Yeah. So let's talk about eating habits, because that's a big one for us.
Oh, yeah.
We probably have one of the worst diets we could have, especially with Jessica being diabetic. So what are some things that we're doing to try to eat better?
I would say we're trying to eat more vegetables. We don't get as much vegetables into our diet like we should be. We at one time did do a lot more vegetables around the time that we found out about Emily, but we kind of got away from all that. I think we need more vegetables in our diet to kind of help with that.
Well, I agree. We need some more variety in our vegetables, because that's part of the thing. I get tired of the same old vegetables day in and day out.
And see, the problem that he has with that is that I can't stand some of the vegetables. Eggplant, gross. Mushrooms. I have always been a meat and potatoes girl, so when you throw in those vegetables, I mean, the fact that I even will eat green beans, but they have to be like literally fresh. Not in a can, not frozen. They have to be like, you snap the peas, they taste a lot better.
Oh yeah,
I think I have an expensive palate probably, but I used to hate broccoli. I eat broccoli now, but I think that's where the problems comes and lies. Is I never ate some of the vegetables that my husband does, and so it's kind of hard for him. I'm very picky eater. We don't even eat whole tomatoes in some of our foods because of the texture. I don't like the texture. It grosses me out. So it's very hard for him sometimes to cook for me.
Well, you have to think about taste and texture, sure, but one of the things that I found, that it's just something that I do with food that a lot of people don't realize, is that I actually kind of listen to my body after I've eaten. That's why there's some things I don't like to eat, because I know how I feel afterwards. And some foods make me feel heavy and no energy, but some foods kind of help fill you up, but they also help you to have more energy, to feel better when
kind
you
of like
eat
a
them.
superfood.
Yep. kind of like your superfoods. And so you just, everybody's body is different. So, but you need to pay attention to what you put into your body and what it's doing inside your body. That's why I don't like going to McDonald's, because I don't like the way I feel after I eat there. Besides the fact that their food's terrible, I don't like the way I feel after I've eaten there. So that's why I don't like eating there.
Differences of opinion. I'm sure there's plenty of people that would totally disagree with you, although I do believe that McDonald's can be very unhealthy for anybody, period.
Yep. What are some things that we could do to eat better that we're not doing right now, besides eating at home more?
I think that what the doctors tell you, you want to listen to. When, I mean, all of us, we have those little checkups that we go to when we take our child in, and they say, don't do this, don't do that, and your child's like, what? No video games, no this. I honestly think that you need to get your child to go outside, become more active. I mean, I remember my mom would lock the door until it was time for us to come back in. She has stories of where, she was told, her, if it was nap time, it was nap time. They weren't allowed to play, but, once they were able to play, they played out till it was like getting dark outside. Nowadays, thoughts of playing is more of the video games, and I think because of that, there's more kids staying inside, not getting the exercise that they do need. And then TV time, I believe nowadays everyone's sitting out in front of the TV. Maybe we do need to go back to sitting down at the table. Although, if your table looks anything like my table, there's nowhere to sit.
You can't even find our kitchen table. I mean, we clean it off, and then like within a day, it's already cluttered up with crap again.
Yeah.
And then finding time for the exercise is one of the biggest issues with time management. The thing is, with exercise, you need, I think it's like 30 minutes a day of exercise, but it doesn't have to be all in one chunk. You can do 5 minutes here and there when you can get away. And you can do a really good exercise in 5 minutes. It's hard. It's not easy, but you can do it. And of course, with my job, I get plenty of exercise, I think, walking around. I'm walking constantly at my job. So, I get a lot of exercise that way.
Yes, because when he was sitting down, he was getting kind of pudgy on me. He actually looked pregnant at
Yeah.
one time.
Yep.
In fact, he looked more pregnant than I was at the time that I was pregnant.
Yeah, I have a lot of people that are talking about how much I've lost weight since I took on my supervisory position, because now I'm walking more. I'm getting up, moving around, constantly watching and what everybody else is doing. But then even when I'm home, I try to do more than I used to. Not great at it, but one of the things that I'm finding, I've been watching a lot of videos, and I don't have the money to go to a studio or anything, but you can find lots of videos on YouTube. You can find them on different web apps if you've got Hulu or Netflix for yoga. And I've been practicing some yoga stretches and yoga exercises to help. And it doesn't take that long. You can spend, a few minutes here and there doing some of those things. And it really helps you have more energy. It helps you to feel better. Or at least it has for me.
Or you might be like me, who hates to exercise. I cannot stand exercising. I think probably I hate it more than anything is because I feel like I'm constantly trying to exercise 7 days a week, where that's just, I get in my modes, and I think all of y'all can agree that you have your times where you're like exercise, 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 and it's like all you're doing for like 2 or 3 months, and then you're like, oh, I'm gonna go ahead and rest because I've been doing it, that's all I seem to be doing, and you rest and you get kind of lazy like I do, and you're like, I would rather just not exercise. I just, you make every excuse in the book. I do get some exercise in because, if you've got kids, you do get a little bit of the exercise in, but not the quantity that they're really wanting. James is right. I think it's just a mixture of what you like to do as exercising, whether you consider it exercising. I love to dance. I haven't danced in a lot, but I can tell you when I did go dancing and I was out all the time, I lost a lot of weight. Um, Other people might like to ride bikes and just do it as a leisure thing. Just basically, I would say just find something that you can connect to that can help you with the exercising stuff. I don't like jogging, but I will walk. And I'll walk and
Yeah,
I'll walk and I'll walk.
I think that's kind of the key. Is a lot of people think of exercise and they think of hard work and they think of hitting the gym. You don't have to go to a gym. You don't have to. It doesn't have to be hard. You need to find something that's active that you enjoy doing. Because if you don't enjoy it, you're not going to follow through on it. If it's something you're doing just because you think you have to, but you don't enjoy doing it, you're not going to do it. You're going to do it for a few weeks, a few months, like you said, and then you're going to quit. That's what most people do. That's why, we got New Year's coming up, and people make these New Year's resolutions every year, and they last a few weeks, and then they quit because they're trying to force themselves to do something that they don't like doing.
And it becomes a chore.
Yeah, exactly. If you don't like it, it's just like work. If you're working at a job that you hate and you're just doing it for a paycheck, you're not going to want to go to work. It's the same thing with your exercise. It's the same thing with your eating. If you don't like the foods you're eating it because somebody told you that's what you have to eat on your diet, you're not going to stick with it. You need to find foods that you like, that are good for you, and that work with your body type, and eat those on a regular basis.
And that don't seem like you're putting yourself on a diet.
Yeah. Well, exactly. That's the point. It's about creating a lifestyle. It's about creating your food lifestyle. It's about creating your exercise lifestyle around something that you would be willing to do and enjoy doing. It's not going to say this is one way to do it for everybody because everybody's body is different. Everybody's body's going to react differently to different foods. There's some things that, like, you said you're a meat and potatoes girl. Well, you can do meat and potatoes more if you have a very active lifestyle. But if you're sitting around a lot, that meat and potatoes diet is going to hurt you.
That's true. You may want to throw in a vegetable or two.
You need to throw in more than one or two. You might want to consider, and this is something we haven't even talked about yet, but doing like a carb fast or doing a meat fast for just a day or two, once a month, and just eat those leafy green vegetables. And you know what? I'm not a big fan of rabbit food.
No, he's not. It's hard to get
but
him to eat stuff.
Sometimes it's a good idea to let go of that meat for a day or two and let go of those carbs and the potatoes and the pastas and all those heavy foods that are not good for you, and get away from those for a couple of days and kind of give your body a chance to detox and rest.
Well, guys, I can say that if you're listening to this and if you're anything like me, you're thinking, what? No beef? I might be able to handle pasta, but no beef?
No tacos.
No tacos?
Yeah. I think some of our friends who are taco addicts would probably not enjoy that too much.
Yeah. I'm willing to try it, but it might be one of those that, hey, this might be a chore type thing. But
again, it's not something that you
got to be open
do.
for new things too. So.
Yeah, and again, that's not something you would do all the time. I just think it's something that you could do every once in a while to kind of help detox your body. It's something I've done in the past. I haven't done it lately, like in the last 5 or 6 years, but it's something I used to do all the time. And part of all this health stuff is about keeping yourself healthy. We all have different health problems. We're getting older, and you're diabetic.
Yes, I am.
And, we have to work on keeping ourselves healthy for Emily's sake, for Hunter's sake, for our own sake. I want to be around in another 20 or 30 years.
And if you know any of my diabetic history, we've had a couple of instances that have been kind of scary. One actually should have put me in the hospital, but didn't. And then the next one happened sometime in February. There's only been two big instances, but it was pretty. I couldn't keep anything down. I was so nauseous. So, it's been kind of a wake up call. Instead, you know, I know it's kind of hard to keep on the healthy habits, me of everybody, especially, when you're used to like maybe grabbing something to drink, like a soda or whatever. Um, Sometimes you have, and sometimes you need this support system. It's not somebody that's keeping you accountable. You're accountable for your own actions, which is true. But sometimes you need that little push of somebody telling you, well, do you really need that? It makes you kind of think twice. Even though you've already know that it's not right, it helps when somebody else says, do you really need that? And it makes me think twice. I mean, the other day I went to grab a Coke, being a diabetic, went to grab a Coke, and then turned back around, noticed what my son was getting, and then put the Coke back. And they're like, no, you can grab the Coke, go ahead. And I'm like, no, I'm going to go ahead and grab a water. So sometimes I do make those good choices, but sometimes those good choices are not outweighing those bad choices that you're making out there. And yes, you are going to make some bad choices. I think part of the problem is that we beat ourselves up too much with these bad choices. What you need to do is just jump back on the bandwagon and try to make the good choices that you can when you can. And I mean, just today, you should have heard my husband. We went out to get Chick-fil-A. Usually when I order Chick-fil-A, it's usually a Chick-fil-A sandwich, and it's the fried Chick-fil-A sandwich. And I ordered a grilled chicken wrap today. And he was like, wow. Because I never, ever ordered the chicken wrap, ever.
I love the chicken wrap. That's what I get all the time when I go there. Um, we don't go there all the time, but because we don't have one right here, we have to go to another town to get one. But when we get one, I always get the chicken wrap.
And I always get the chicken sandwich that's fried. So, see, I made a good decision today, and I made sure that my drink was a diet lemonade.
Yep.
So,
Well, we like the diet lemonade, even though all the artificial sweeteners really aren't good for you. They say to have those artificial sweeteners. It's what the doctors tell you, but honestly, those artificial sweeteners are actually just as bad for you as real sugar. So, just something to keep in mind and to think about. So what do we do when we get sick? We're trying to keep ourselves healthy, but sometimes we go down and we go down and we get sick. And then what happens with your kids when you're sick and you can't take care of them? What do you do? I mean, how are we handling it when you're sick? Yes.
usually when I'm sick, and that's where the problem lies, is when I get sick very rarely. I think in the last 2 years I've only been sick twice. But when I go down, I go down. I mean, you can ask my husband, and I go down pretty good. But the things that we have done is that he has taken over the chores of taking care of Emily. I mean, if it's really bad, he'll call in. And he may call in for a couple of days. But, I'm trying to get myself back together. And I have a 16-year-old who will come in since my husband's taking care of Emily. My 16-year-old knows that I'm in bed, and he comes in and he's like, Mom, is there anything I can fix for you? Do you want any? He brings me my drink and my food to make sure that I'm okay. Because it's kind of scary for him. He knows that I don't hardly ever get sick. We joked around one time that my husband was like, I can't take off work every time you get sick. And I was like, I've only been sick twice. You've been sick like more times than I have.
Right, but that was because they had just written me up for taking off because you were sick.
Yeah.
And of course, we have a nurse here most of the time.
And she helps out a lot.
Yeah, she helps out a lot. She's able to step in and help take care of Emily more. when you're sick, which is a huge benefit because
That
my
is true.
work. I got in trouble at my work actually one time because we didn't have a nurse available. Um, Her family wasn't available. My family was out of town. Nobody, all of our support system was unavailable the one day she got sick. So I had to call in so I could stay home and take care of Emily. And I got to work the next day, and they had written me up for not coming to work. So you have to balance that, um,
And you have,
going to work and staying home and all that.
but for everything that happened on his getting written up, in my opinion, I think that was pretty messed up of his work. But we're not going to go on that subject. I think everybody's situation is different, and if you're going to have to call in because your spouse is it, and you're going to get written up, your family is the most important thing when it comes down to it. Not your work. Okay, you're just going to get in trouble. You're going to get written up. You're not going to get fired. Um,
Maybe not the
I could see
first
where it
time, but
happens all the time. I
you
could,
know,
you know,
being a supervisor and being, in a position of higher management now, I see where, that is a problem when it becomes a habit. That's the biggest thing is
yes,
you can't let it become a habit.
that is so true. But me getting sick is very rare. I mean, you can ask James. I get sick maybe once a year, and that's it. And that's covering being sick from like starting from November into all the way for the whole year. I might get sick the first part of the year. I might get sick towards the second part of the year, but I get sick one time really good during the whole year, which is good compared to some people. Some people are sick a lot more. So I think I do pretty good when it comes sick wise. The genes that I have are pretty good. I'm so fortunate that I don't have to deal with the allergies that my son, I mean not my son, um, that James and Emily have to deal with because starting for certain times of year, James.
Oh, I have allergy problems that last, pretty much 9 out of 12 months. I mean,
And he's
I get a
miserable.
couple of months a year that I don't have allergy problems. But for the most part, I have my year round allergies, and I'm constantly having issues with those. But I've also gotten so used to them. Yes, I feel miserable, but it doesn't shut me down. I've only had that one time, and they said it was one of the worst allergy seasons ever. That it got so bad that it actually knocked me down, and I did not. I actually had to take off work, and I actually got sick from it.
And he
Um,
broke out.
yeah, I had a broke out in a full body rash one day, and just out of the blue. Uh, but that was, that's like the only time that's ever happened in my entire life. And they said, the doctor even told us that that was one of the worst allergy seasons that they had seen in years. So, I don't really get sick that often. The times that I've been sick and that I've had to take off work were, some of them were self inflicted. Um, when I, was vaping and we figured out that problem. Uh, I tried to quit smoking by switching to a vape, and that just did not work well. I'm not going to go into the details. Um, but yeah, I had some gastrointestinal issues that cropped up from vaping. But once I quit vaping and went back to smoking, not necessarily smoking is good for you. I'm not advocating that anybody smoke. I'm trying to cut back and trying to cut down so that I can get to where I can quit again. But, uh, it's something that the vape for something did not work well with my body. And some people like it, some people don't.
His body said, no, I don't like this. So I totally agree. I've heard a lot of people who are able to get off of smoking by vaping. Unfortunately, my husband's not one of them. He's also tried Chantix. Did not make him feel very well. And all you Chantix users, I know that y'all know what he's talking about when he says it made you feel real nauseous. You kind of have to keep on some kind of a schedule.
Yeah.
And that's where we go back into the time management when it comes to schedule because he, I think, out of both of us, does not have time at all.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, the time, I mean, I have time. Sometimes I use it wisely, sometimes I don't. I'm getting better.
I think we are all like that.
I'm better at it now than I was. But, it's for me, it's more about finding those little chunks of time to do stuff. Like meditation, I like to meditate, and I hadn't meditated for quite a while because I hadn't had the time. And then I was going through some training that I had, and I found a quick meditation that I can actually do in like 2 minutes. And I do it sitting in the lobby of a doctor's office. I'll do it sitting in my car at a red light. I'll do it, um, wherever I am, if I can just take a couple of minutes. If you do the quick little 2 minute meditation, well, if you do that 10 times a day, that's 20 minutes worth of meditation.
And if you think about it, that's a good exercise too. It's it's exercising, but in a different way, mentally instead of
Well, it's not
physically,
just
and it's still going to keep you
exercising
healthy.
mentally, it's actually good for your body because when you meditate, you're doing very focused breathing, and that oxygenates your blood and
Which
helps improve your circulation, and it
help you lose
helps
weight.
with, yeah, it can help you lose weight, it can help you have more energy, it can help you be more focused. um, so that's why I enjoy meditation. I try to still do at least a 20 15 to 20 minute single shot meditation a day. Some days I get it in, some days I don't, but I at least do those little 2 minute meditations here and there. And I try to do them about 10 to 15 times a day, so I get at least 20 to 30 minutes a day.
I think when it comes down to the meditation, I think it's a good thing for everybody to try. If you're like me and don't really know where to start, you might want to ask somebody that does um, begin to know how to do meditation. But I do believe that whether you're meditating and you're closing your eyes or whether you're taking in scenery, sometimes my meditation has nothing to do with taking in the deep breaths, but I feel more relaxed sometimes when I just go outside and the weather is just so beautiful. And I guess that's a kind of different type of meditation because you just feel nature just pouring down in you. And some of y'all nature people know what I'm talking about. Where it makes you feel like you want to go on that walk. And if that's what you feel like doing at that moment, I suggest take that moment in. I mean, 'cause especially if you don't know, you don't exercise as much, taking that walk that you thought, wow, this would be a good day to walk. Don't just think it's a good day to walk. Just go out there and do it. You know, find a partner to go with because I know sometimes that can be a problem. You really don't want to go walking by yourself. And in these days and ages, you really shouldn't go walking by yourself. You should have some kind of a partner because sometimes things happen that we hear it every day on the news. Things happen. So I really think maybe you do need to have some kind of a partner that can go with you when you do that kind of stuff so that if something should happen, they can go get help if they need to. Um, just remember that. Uh, I would always say do like the Boy Scouts and use a buddy system.
Yep. I like that buddy system. You always have a partner going with you that really helps to keep you safe. And you can also, take your child. Um, you can, Emily has her wheelchair. She's got her stroller. We can strap her in and go for a walk. We've done it before. We don't do it all that often, but it gets her out of the house a little bit and gets you out of the house for a little bit and gets me out of the house for a little bit, and
Mm-hmm.
we can do that, and just go take a quick stroll around the block or whatever, and then come right back, and just take a few minutes. But
Right.
I hope that these just give you a few ideas. I just want to encourage you to think about, how you're eating, think about your overall health, find time to exercise for yourself, and start thinking about what you're going to do and how you're going to handle things if you do get sick. Because it's going to happen. Life's going to get in the way. And Just because your child's disabled does not mean that everything else in your life goes away.
And
And
remember, another thing of staying healthy that I didn't touch on, James, was moms. You know what I'm talking about. James saw it a little bit at the conference, but some of us do not get the sleep that we need when we're with our child. My daughter wakes me up more times than my husband even realizes, but she moves around a lot in the bed. And I'm a very light sleeper, and I'm one of those type of people that once I'm awake, and it's hard to get me back to sleep. I mean, the other day I spent 24 hours awake, 24 hours, 24 hours for one day, and then I didn't go to sleep till 5 o'clock the next morning. And part of that was because one, I didn't get, we, you might have those noisy neighbors that are partying. This one wasn't on Emily, but I did have some neighbors on both sides that were partying and they were yelling, and I would get back to sleep, and then of course you'd get wake up. My husband unfortunately gets to deal with that too. But the main thing is that then around 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, Emily wakes up and she starts kicking me. And so I really didn't get a lot. I didn't get any sleep whatsoever. So then you push yourself past that point, and you're so tired that you want to go to sleep, but you've been keeping yourself up. And granted, I did this without coffee. There was no coffee in my system. So it was very hard for me to wind down within the next day and a
I,
half because of that. And that I know was not good on one, it's not good for your body. It's not good for your brain. There was a lot of stuff that probably was, deprived from that sleep. We need our sleep so that we can take care of our kids. Who knows what I was exposed to during those 24 hours? I could have been exposed to some kind of germ that will put me down for the next 2 weeks because I stayed up for it. I mean, you've really got to try to get as much sleep as possible. And I know it's kind of hard, and some of y'all's kids are on melatonin and stuff like that, but grab the sleep when you can grab it, and take care of yourself. Get that free time in there. If you have free time to be watching TV, you have free time to go to sleep and take a nap. If somebody else is watching your child. So I
yep.
just wanted to say that that's a good.
And the dads can help out with that a lot. I know a lot of what happens sometimes when I'm off or when I get home early. You know, I'll grab Emily and let you go back to sleep for an hour or two.
He does.
And then, when I'm off, I may sit there and I may hold Emily for a few hours while you get some sleep. So, y'all have to work together as a team if there's two of you in a home. Because, it takes both of you to raise the child. And mom should not be with the child 24/7. And dad, yeah, dad works. And you know what? I'm tired when I come home from work. But I still try to spend that time with Emily and give Jessica a break because sometimes, especially on the days when our nurse isn't here, we're grateful and we love the fact that we have the nurse. We went through a few months here recently between nurses,
Oh yes.
and Jessica didn't get a break except for the breaks I gave her. And you've got to realize if you don't have nursing, if you don't have respite care, dads, you gotta pay attention to the fact that your wife ain't getting a break if she's staying home with the kid all day, and then you come home and you're tired and you want her to have food ready and you want her to have all this stuff done, but she's been taking care of your child all day. She needs a break from that child, and she needs to have some time to do all that other stuff. So you're gonna have to help. You're gonna have to jump in, and I don't know how most of the dads are. I think most of the dads that I met are, pretty involved to a point. Maybe I don't know. I've had several people tell me that I'm more involved than most dads that they see, but for me, it's just I come in, I spend time with Emily. I see Emily. Of course, I work overnights too, so I work at 6 o'clock at night to 6 o'clock in the morning, and so then I come in around 7:30, and first thing I do is grab Emily and let just get a little more sleep. I make sure she gets her morning feed, gets her medicines in her, gets herself ready for the day. Usually her school teachers are showing up around 8 o'clock in the morning and they're ready to go to school. So I help her kind of get up and get ready and get her going for the day while Jessica catches that last little bit of sleep that she can get. Um,
That is so true, James. And one of the things, when we went to the holoprosencephaly conference that both me and James realized, it was kind of a little bit of an eye opener because, like he says, he's always helping me, when I do and trying to get me. I am not with a grown up usually all day. Sometimes I need that grown up conversation, but I realized really fast, and you may not see the symptoms, but this is another way of taking care of yourselves is burnout. Let's talk about the burnout. You
Well,
can easily get burned out.
yeah. Well, we're gonna have to say that for another day, though. We're actually past our time, so we're gonna talk about burnout, fatigue, in a later episode. Actually, we already got scheduled next week. Avoiding a financial meltdown, but we might take some time to address the burnout issue when we first start. All right. So that's going to be it for today. You guys have a great day. Remember, life doesn't end because your child is disabled. If you need help, check us out at disabledlifestyle.com. Check us out on Facebook at Disabled Lifestyle. And make sure you check out the show notes for today's episode. It's going to be EDL podcast /003. And you'll get to see the show notes, the links to things we've talked about, and some great resources to help you take better care of yourself and to help you better manage your time. Till next week, you have a great day. And if you need any help, you can always email me, James at disabledlifestyle.com. See you next time.